Welcome to the Professional Troublemaker podcast. This is the place where we help you cultivate the courage, authenticity, and audacity you need to use your voice, take up space, and live a life that is so bold, even your wildest dreams say goals. I'm your host, Luvvie and Ajayi, New York Times bestselling author, sought-after speaker, and side-eye sorceress, bringing you thought-provoking conversations with amazing people who have taken action and have consistently showed up with the courage and confidence they needed to become the fear fighters they are today. Like the late, great John Lewis said, these are the kind of people who are never, ever afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Before we jump into today's interview, know that this podcast is named after my second New York Times bestselling book, Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual, which is available now wherever you get your books. With this book and with everything that I do, I am on a mission to help 1 million people live audaciously. To do that, they must fight their fear. So think of it, 1 million people who are out there standing on the edge of something great and need that little push of encouragement. That push to be the domino, to say the hard thing, to have the hard conversation. 1 million people kicking their fears to the curb and stepping into the life that they've been dreaming of. 1 million people asking for a raise. 1 million people, starting a fierce job that they're not sure they're ready for. 1 million people doing something that feels so big that their wildest dreams say goals. My goodness. So that is what writing this book has done for me. What it's already done for those who are reading it and gifting it to others. This book has empowered people to say yes to things that they were previously saying no to. It's empowered people to have tough conversations they weren't gonna have before. People have asked for raises and promotions and gotten them after reading this book and finding the courage to speak up. The domino effect of what has been happening when a few people have decided not to live in the realm of fear has been amazing. Think of what could happen if 1 million people stop letting fear be the first factor in their decision-making. An audacious mission like that can't happen without you. So let's get this book in the hands of as many people as possible. Buy a copy of Professional Troublemaker for yourself or as a gift for your friend who needs a push. I know it'll change your life like it's changed mine. And I know it will change lives of all these people who touch it because domino effects are real. Professional Troublemaker, which is available in hardcover or audiobook, I narrated it, and ebook, is now at professionaltroublemakerbook.com. Order it there or wherever you buy your books. My guest today is comedian, producer, author, and fellow Nigerian Gina Yashere. From the UK, she was the first and only British comic to perform on Def Comedy Jam. She's got 3 comedy specials on Netflix and is a co-executive producer, writer, and series regular on the CBS sitcom Hearts Abishola, which she co-created with Chuck Lorre. She became the first woman engineer for OTIS, the largest elevator company in the world, when she was only 19. During our conversation, we talk about how she's created her own opportunities and how other people's fear have opened up doors for her greatness. We also talk about the release of her new book, Cack-Handed, a memoir, and how she's disruptive in the comedy space. Gina has always been a disruptor, never taking no for an answer. She went from being the comic that's never booked to now having a TV show on one of the major networks. Persistence, betting on yourself, and taking responsibility for your success can literally change your life. So listen in. Gina, welcome to Professional Troublemaker.
Why, thanks for having me, Luvvie. I've enjoyed all your works. I've read your books. I follow you. As far as I'm concerned, we're friends. I don't care what anybody says. I consider you my friend. I don't give a damn.
We be texting and whatnot, what I mean? Living our best lives. When the world opens back up, we got to meet up in some city in the world.
Yes, I want to be in this Nigerian cool gang with Yvonne and Cynthia and everybody that you got. Because I see you lot on Instagram pre-pandemic and I was jealous as hell. I was like, how come I'm not getting invited to these cool hangouts? Am I not Nigerian? I'm coming. It's happening.
You are getting an invitation. So I am always curious what you wanted to do or be when you were growing up. What was like 7-year-old Gina's dream?
7-year-old Gina wanted to be a scientist and an athlete at the same time.
Really?
So I was a sprinter, 100 meters was my jam, and I was talented. And obviously, I came from how the Nigerian families are. You got the five choices of career: doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, or disgrace to the family. So my mum was like, "You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor."
Yes.
But even at 7, I knew I didn't really like the sight of blood. I didn't like, but I was like, "I want to be a scientist." And she was like, "Well, sounds the same. Okay." So scientist and athlete. I wanted to be a scientist, discovering new amoebas and new cells and new things. And then in my spare time, winning Olympics at 100 meters. That was me at 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, again, I wish I was keeping score, but if I had a running tally of the amount of people who came on this podcast, and when I asked them that question, the answer was doctor.
Yeah.
It has to be at least 60% of the folks who come on this podcast who at one point in their lives wanted to be a doctor. And clearly it didn't work out like that for any of us.
Nope. I mean, I don't know if we wanted to be doctors or it was just subliminally implanted by our parents. Because, from about 10 to 18, I thought I was going to be a doctor. All my school, it was aiming towards becoming a doctor because my mom told me that's what I was going to be.
I think it's subliminal dream planting.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
People tell you that enough, you go, okay, I will be that. And that did not work. So what were you like at 7 or 10? Like, what was your personality like?
Very boisterous. My mum says that I was crazy from birth because I came after twins. So I was born 8 years after twins. My older sister, Taiwan Kende. So my mum said there was a lot of room in there. And apparently I went AWOL in the womb. So, when the doctors come round and check, they couldn't find me because I had gone wandering around the womb. They couldn't find me. All the doctors were prodding her like, where is this baby? Where is this baby? So my mom said that from that day, she knew I was going to come out crazy.
You were the turn up queen from the womb.
From the womb. So as a 7-year-old, I was boisterous. I was loud. I was, I questioned everything. So my mum had to keep me on a tight rein at school. My mum was super overprotective and super harsh disciplinarian. So at school, I let off steam. When I got to school, I was like, yeah, freedom. And I was crazy. Every school report said, she's very clever, she's very good, but disruptive. Every school report said disruptive because I'd finish my work and then I'd be clowning and making my friends laugh and all that kind of stuff. And the teachers would be like, can you just let the other kids finish their work before you? So that was me as a 7-year-old, just nuts.
So where did you grow up? Where were you born?
I was born in Bethnal Green, East London. So I'm a Cockney by birth, proper Bow Bells Cockney, geezer, whatever. All the movies, that's how I taught when I was a kid. Straight up Cockney geezer. So that's where I was born.
And how was that? Because here's the thing: is most of my listeners live in the U.S. They have no clue really what it's like in England. What was growing up in that area like?
Horrible. England in the 1970s and 80s, super racist. Now my mum came to England in the 60s, early 60s. And, that was when they had signs on their doors. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So you go to rent a place. These were signs that people put on their doors to let you know, don't bother ring the doorbell. You're not getting a room in this house. So this was England. And in the 70s, it was very racist. I routinely got spat on and chased by skinheads, routinely. One of the chapters, the first chapters of my book, I talk about the first time a skinhead spat on me. We lived in what was considered the projects. It was a council flats, which is like the projects of East London. And, you have those trash chutes. You throw your trash down the chute. And if those chutes get blocked, you have to bring the trash down. And that was my job as a 6-7-year-old to bring the trash down and throw it. And I remember being accosted by a bunch of boys in the hallway going back, and they called me names and spat on me. And them times my mum used to make me wear dresses, because Nigerians. And so I remember they spat and it landed on my thigh as I ran away.
No.
And I remember going back up to the apartment and going, "Mummy, the bad boys," because that's what I used to call them. We didn't. I had no concept of racism. I was just like, "Oh, they're the bad boys that hang around this day," and call everybody names. But they were calling black people and Indian people names because England in the 70s, racist. So yeah, my mum just wiped the spit off and it's like, just stay away from the bad boys because we were used to that. We'd be walking. My mum would be walking to school in the morning. And a car would drive by, someone would scream an epithet out the window and literally swerve into a puddle and splash us completely in filthy London water. So these are some of my memories of childhood in England. People think that England is so genteel and, tally-ho, and everybody's so polite. You forget that the British Empire ruled and subjugated a very large amount of the planet. Yes. The British Empire ruled the world for a very long time. They were the first and the biggest slavers. So yeah, do not get it twisted. The Brits are just as bad as the Americans.
If not worse. I mean, they were like worse. Racism original. They were like...
yeah, 1.1, like 1.0, the first and the largest. The Americans learned from the Brits.
Exactly. Like England was so racist that they left. Mm-hmm. And then was like, we're going to bring our own version of racism over here.
Exactly. So England is, that's how, I mean, it wasn't all bad. There were, I enjoyed even, when you're a kid, you don't understand that this is not the way things are supposed to be. You just go, all right, those are the people to avoid, and I'll go this direction. And so I was a happy child. I didn't know the struggles my mum was going through. I didn't know that we were quite poor, that my mum had come from a wealthy Nigerian family to come to England to suffer. I didn't believe I was suffering. I had food. I had clothes.
Right.
I went to school. I was a happy kid.
And see, that's really important too, is because parents, it's a testament to parents when you are poor and you have no clue. No clue. Wow. So, okay. So you got this boisterous kid who is disruptive in school. Shout out to many of us who talk too much in class and we were too smart. So we got done too early. Yeah. And next thing you know, we talking to everybody and we're funny. Mm-hmm. So you used to crack folks up way early.
Oh yeah, way early. I mean, I used it as a way to deflect from confrontation. So as an African kid in England in the 70s and 80s, we were not cool back then. We were not cool. And I used to get into a lot of hassles at school. And as I just mentioned how racist England was, funny enough, at school, it wasn't the white kids that were giving me trouble. It was other black children, children of African Caribbean descent.
Wow.
Because they were not educated to their origins. Do you know what I mean? They just, they had the same education that white people got, where the Africans were primitive animals running around in the jungle, chasing Tarzan and trying to cook white people in pots with bones in our noses. So that's or the only African people you saw on TV were hungry with flies landing on their face, begging for donations. So this was the only image of Africa that they had. And white kids and black kids alike. And so they weren't taught. African Caribbean kids were not taught that they were descendants of slaves. They just thought that they were from the Caribbean. The black people were in the Caribbean. There's different types of black people. So they were like, I ain't African, you, this, that. I used to get called names. Like in America, it was African booty scratcher. In England, it was African bubble, spear chucker, all of that stuff. So yeah, I went through it at school, because, a lot of African kids hid their Africanness. I couldn't. My mum would turn up at parent-teacher conference, full African attire, with all her gold on. Like she used to come like she was going to some kind of Nigerian ceremony. So I couldn't hide my Africanness. So yeah, I went through it at school. Kids calling me names. I was constantly getting into fights. When I tell kids, hey, we're all from Africa. What are you talking about? They'll be like, I'm Jamaican, I'm not no goddamn African. Because they weren't educated to where they originated. It wasn't until Bob Marley started singing the songs and telling people where they came from. They're like, oh. Or when Roots came out. That's when people, they were like, oh. So up until then, no idea. So I was constantly fighting. other kids at school, black kids.
So how did you maintain your Gina-ness as this is happening? Like, what kind of had you being like, I'm still dope? Like, what kept your confidence?
My confidence was definitely knocked for a very long time. So, it was a tough exterior. I just maintained a tough exterior. So I was that kid who would fight anybody. And I carried that attitude right into my 20s, mid-20s. I was still fighting people out in these streets. Literally.
You were scrapping, Gina? You were out here just fighting people?
Still scrapping. I was scrapping until I had to stop and say, I tried to use my humor to deflect. So I learned earlier on to use my humor and make people laugh and deflect from confrontation. But if you step to me, I was that kid. I will fight you. Male, female, big, small, I will fight you. And so I got that reputation of being the crazy kid. So then people never really messed with me as much. So I never got bullied because I made a point of fighting everybody. So then they go, don't mess with her. She will fight you. And that's how I deflected. So it was humor or fight. And I tried to use humor. As I got older, I developed my sense of humor and my skill at comedy to deflect from that.
So when you turned 18 and you were about to start university, when did the doctor dream die?
Advanced level biology. So my mum picked all my subjects at school. So I love languages. I wanted to study French and German and Spanish and, and I wanted to do arts. I felt artistic as a kid. I remember a drama teacher, because we did drama up until the age of 13 in school. It was just one of the compulsory subjects. And I loved that class. So I remember this parent-teacher conference, the drama teacher saying to my mum, your daughter, she's very talented. She's got a personality. She's funny. She should consider, doing drama further than, 13 years old, because you can continue it. She can act. And my mum looked at this teacher and was like, yes, well, she can act like a doctor when she becomes a doctor. And that was the end of that conversation. And the next year, when you had to pick your subjects, drama was out. My mum picked all of my subjects. You will do physics, you will do biology, you will do chemistry, you will become a doctor. So I managed to hold on to French. I still, by convincing my mum that a bilingual doctor makes more money than a regular doctor. So I still was able to study French. But the dream died. 18, advanced level biology. So we did these things in England called O levels, GCSEs, and A levels. So you did those at 16, and those, depending on how many passed, you could leave school at 16 in England and go and work and do apprenticeships and go straight out into the working world, or stay on at school to 18 to do advanced levels. And then advanced levels those are the subjects that get you into university. You have to pass.
Okay.
So I was doing advanced levels, A levels in physics, mathematics, and French.
Oh my God.
I skipped chemistry because I was never good at chemistry. But I said to my mum, I can still be a doctor with physics, maths, A levels. So she's like, okay. But then, I was doing physics, biology, and maths. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And so I said, I forget chemistry, I can still be a doctor. But then it got to biology advanced level, and we had to dissect animals. And I remember we had to dissect a rat. And as soon as they sliced open that rat and everything oozed out, I was like, yeah, this doctor thing is not going to happen. I'm about to faint in this class. This is disgusting. So after that, I went back to my mum and said, listen, mums, the doctor thing is not going to work out. I'm going to switch biology to mathematics, and I'm going to do maths, and French. And I'm going to become an engineer. A month before, they were trying to introduce get more women to go into the engineering profession. And so they'd had a bunch of women engineers come to the school and talk to the girls, because I was doing advanced level at a girls' school. And they came and talked to us, and I was like, engineering, that sounds way more interesting. I can fix things. I don't have to be in an office. I can be out in the streets, just doing my own thing. I'm going to be an engineer. So I told my mum, and my mum was like, well, this is on the list. Okay, engineer. And then turns to my younger brother, you will now be the doctor. Forget engineer. You are the doctor. Gina is the engineer. So literally, the doctor thing just went down the conveyor belt of her children until it fell off the end, because none of us were doctors. My mother's disappointment is palpable.
Listen, first of all, everybody has that moment of, oh yeah, no, my doctor dream died in chemistry 101. But at least you got to advanced level biology. I quit at chemistry 101. So
Yep.
I didn't even wait for advanced levels.
See, I kept my mum's dream alive as long as possible, right till 18. I kept that dream going. And I assumed that I was going to be a doctor because she told me I was going to. And you know what? She used a really fantastic version of reverse psychology on me because I don't think I would have been that good at school. I don't think I would have been that good at school if my mother had not had these high expectations of me. So I assumed I was good at clever. I assumed I was intelligent. I assumed because my mum told me, you're going to be a doctor, you're clever, you're going to do this, this is happening. So because of that, I assumed if I think back, I was not that academically gifted. I had a good memory. I was wonderful at memorizing stuff.
Yes. That comes in handy on tests because you remember the page that you read, that answer.
Exactly. But I was not that gifted. But because my mum told me I was clever, I was like, well, then I'm clever. And so the assumption made me work harder to attain those goals.
But see, that in itself is a lesson. Mm-hmm. Like, you were basically convinced that you were good at this, and you were like, yes, and then you were good at it. That's a lesson, y'all. Like, tell your kids that they're good at stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell them, because they will manifest what you instill in them from a very young age. And so I've always assumed myself to be intelligent, even though when I think about it, I'm like, I'm all right. I'm average.
But according to moms, you're clever.
I'm the best.
And it works because here you are today, making a living being clever. Okay. So engineering, how long did you do that?
6 years. So I've advanced level, I passed my A-levels. I got accepted into university. But my mother was so overprotective, she wouldn't let me go to university outside of London because I wanted my freedom. I wanted to be away from my mum. I wanted to be away because she didn't let me go anywhere, do anything, have friends over. I was just, couldn't wait to escape. So I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go find a college far away. I'm going to live on the student dorms. I'm going to be free. But my mum was like, you're not going to college outside of London. You're going to college in London. So she was keeping me in the house. So I was like, well then, fuck college. I was like, I ain't going to college. No university. I did not turn up for university. I said, I'm not going to university because I don't want to be stuck in this house with no money. Because as a student, I would be continuing to be a student, which means I would still be financially reliant on my mum, which means I can't go anywhere or do anything. So I was like, nope, I'm going out into the working world. I'm getting a job. So I applied for jobs as a trainee engineer. And I said to my mum, don't worry, I'll still get my degree, but I'm going to study for my degree part-time while I got a job earning a salary, because the first thing I'm going to get me is a car so that I can be out and free. So that's what I did. I studied, I passed my A-levels, and then I got a job as a trainee engineer with a full-time salary. And I studied for my electrical electronics degree in the evenings and weekends part-time. So I was working, and it was a beautiful thing. The first thing I bought at the age of 19 was a car. And from that day, my mum couldn't stop me. I was out in these streets. I was like, Mum, I'm going to the nightclub. You can't tell me nothing because you all talking about me being kidnapped and murdered on the streets. I drive my own car now. Nobody can kidnap me. So I was out. I was clubbing every weekend, doing my Running Man, doing my Cabbage Patch. I was out there. And I was working and studying, and she couldn't tell me anything because I paid bills. I was like, okay, I will pay you rent for my bedroom. I hooked up cable in my bedroom. I had cable. I had everything. My bedroom was a palace. I had my own phone line. Yeah. I didn't even tell my mum what I was doing. My mum just came home one day and the engineer was putting a satellite dish on the roof. And she's like, what's going on? I said, I'm hooking up my bedroom. Don't worry, I'm paying for this. And I'm paying my rent and I got my own phone line. So I had my own little HQ in my mother's house. And she couldn't say nothing because I paid her rent every month.
What?
So I was an adult in that house.
Oh, you were living your best in the house?
Best life.
Wow.
Best life.
And your Nigerian mom was probably like, I'm too mad I can't say nothing.
She couldn't say anything because I'm working, I'm bringing money into the household. I had a car, so whenever she wanted to go to the market on Saturday morning, she'd be knocking on my bedroom door. Get up, I want to go to the market. So I was her unofficial cab driver. So she couldn't say anything because she had my car at her disposal. I was paying her rent. I bought groceries for the house. So I was contributing. So I was like, well, for my contribution, I'm hitting these nightclubs every week and you can't say nothing.
You were in these streets.
Yeah.
The streets was calling your name early.
Yes, calling my name. But even then, I was still a good kid. I wasn't out there having one night stands. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't drinking. I've never drunk. I've never liked the taste of alcohol. So all these things that my mum was terrified of, I did none of them. I never did. I know what I'm like. I've got an addictive personality. So I like things and I like things too much. Like I get addicted to chocolate and I'll eat nothing but chocolate for 7 months straight. So I've never done drugs because I know I will like it too much. So I've never tried it. So even though I was out in the streets, I was dancing. All I was doing was going to the clubs and dancing my ass off for 8 hours straight and then coming home and sleeping. I was not drinking. I was not drugging. I was not having sex with strangers. I was living a pretty clean life. So all my mum's fears, all my mum's fears were kind of unfounded with me.
Wow. So how did engineer become stand-up comic?
So I got a job working for OTIS, building.
Wait a minute, OTIS, the elevator folks that we all walk in the elevators and we see OTIS on the floor.
Yes, OTIS is the biggest elevator company in the world. They are all over the world. And I got a job working for OTIS, building and repairing elevators. That was my job. I did that for 4 years. So I got that job. I was the first woman engineer they had ever had in the UK in their 100-year history. First woman.
What?
I applied for the job. I walked in with all the confidence going, I'm a qualified engineer. I've got my qualifications. I'm better than all these kids. I walked in with full confidence and they gave me the job. And I was like, and furthermore, I know it's a 5-day-a-week job or sometimes weekends. Here's the thing. I'm going to need 1 day a week because I'm still finishing my degree. So I'm going to need 1 day a week off to study. Just telling you that right now in the interview. So that was my confidence levels in the job interview.
You asked for a 4-day work week in 1990.
Yeah. 4-day work week. I was like, this is what I want. So they were like, okay. And I got the job and I was their poster child. Because every poster, I was there with my hard hat and my tools. They loved it. I was the first woman and black. Oh my God, amazing for them. For me, not so much. It was a baptism of fire. Bearing in mind, I came into this job already. I already had like various qualifications, electrical, electronics engineering. So I came in at a higher pay grade than a lot of my white counterparts, or equal to a lot of these guys that were married with kids with a house and all that kind of stuff. And there's this little 19-year-old coming in fully like on the same level as them. They hated me. And I went through a baptism of fire. A lot of racism, a lot of sexism. Remember, I'm an engineer. I'm out in the field. I'm on construction sites.
Yeah.
And there's no HR on construction sites. Guys would call me the N-word to my face. I'd come into work in the morning. Remember, we're on construction sites, so there's no women's toilets. I used to sometimes have to use the men's because we're on a construction site and I'm the only woman. So I just pull my hard hat down and just walk to the men's. I refused to have separate changing quarters from the men because I was like, I am one of these engineers. I don't want them to think I'm getting any kind of special treatment. So I was in the same changing quarters as these guys. And I'd come in and there'd be bananas stuck above my hard hat. You know, pictures of monkeys on the wall, that kind of thing. And they'd all be giggling as I pulled the bananas out of my pockets and put on my overalls. So this is what I went through as an engineer with OTIS in the 90s. This is what I went through. Every day, I'd have to psych myself up to go to work because I'd want to go in and kill these people. Eventually, I had to physically threaten a man. Every day.
Really?
Every day. He kept calling me the N-word every day and talking about how he don't want no black people living next to him because we stink and we're animals. These are the conversations that took place every day in front of my face at work. So one day we were working alone and I said, And you keep talking about niggas every day. Tell you what, you say that word in front of me again. I've got 2 brothers. I will send 2 of them niggas round your house because I know where you live.
Ooh.
I know. I mean, I don't know if I can say the words. So I can edit myself. And
No, you're fine. No. People need to hear that.
Yeah. So I said I will send 2 of them round your house to beat your ass if I ever hear you say that word in front of me again. And you know what? He never spoke to me again. Never spoke to me again, and I was happy with that. But yeah, these are the issues. I mean, it's all in the book. I talked about it, and not even just the white engineers. There was a young black engineer that came on the construction site, and I was so excited when he came. I was like, oh great, me and him will be able to handle these racists. And he sided with the racists.
No.
You African with your big rubber lips, I'm glad that we got enslaved because we got mixed with a white man and now I'm prettier, my lips ain't big like yours. These are the kind. So he was saying this stuff to me at work in front of the white dudes. So then I'd be screaming at him and these white dudes would be standing back laughing at the 2 of us. Until one day I really looked at these guys laughing at us. I was like, why am I putting myself through this? I stopped talking to the black dude as well. I said, don't ever speak to me again. I just stopped and I ignored it and I just come into work, do my work, only speak to the engineers that were nice to me and I stuck it out for 4 years just to prove that I could do it. But eventually I left because as I was their first engineer, they didn't know what to do with me. I was their first engineer and I did all the things to get my promotions. And when it came to give me my promotions, they're like, yeah, well, because a promotion would mean running your own site.
Okay.
And managing other engineers. And they were like, well, we don't know if the guys will listen to a woman engineer. So we can't promote you, but we'll give you the money, but you just can't. And I'd be like, no. So this is what I was up against. And at some point I was like, no, this is not good enough. I'm going to go to a grievance hearing with the top brass at the company and say, I want my proper promotion. I want my site. I want the things that all the other male engineers are getting. And they're less qualified than I am. The union that I'd been paying into for 4 years, my union rep came to me and was like, well, I don't know about this women's lib stuff, sorry, and refused to represent me at my hearing. So I went to this hearing with the top brass of OTIS, unrepresented by my union. At this point, I'm 21 years old. And I'm in this meeting with the top brass, all old white men that run the company. And obviously I lost. They were like, we don't see we've done anything wrong. Off you go, little black girl. And so I got dismissed from this hearing because I had no union backup. So after that, I was like, I've got to be out of this job. This is not working for me anymore. I've stuck it out for 4 years. I'm qualified now. I know that I can walk into any other engineering job. Let me find a job where there are black people. So I left the job. And they were making people redundant anyway. There was a building slump in the mid-90s in England and they were laying people off. They were never going to lay me off because I was their black poster girl. But I walked into my manager's office and I said, you best lay me off and give me my money and let me go, or else I'll go public with what has been happening in this company. So they paid me off and let me go. And this was in the summer. And in that summer, I was like, right, I'm going to take the summer off. I'm going to do all the things that I've wanted to do that my mum never let me do because I've got this money. I've got a little apartment. By this time I'd left home. I had my own little apartment. My rent was cheap. My car was paid off, bought cash. So I got this nice little chunk of money. I can enjoy the summer and then go back to engineering later. And it's in that period that I fell into comedy. I went to a couple of acting workshops because I always remember what that drama teacher told me. So I did a couple of things. I discovered myself. I joined the Nation of Islam. I was so angry after my experience at OTIS. I was like, I need to know my black history. I need to know the stuff that they never taught us at school. And I joined the Nation of Islam for a while. I wore the hijab. I went to all the meetings, all of it. I was Nation of Islam for a while. So I did all of these things in that time off that I had after OTIS. And, I was in the Nation of Islam a while, but as a woman in the Nation of Islam, I'm too mouthy. I asked too many questions. It didn't really work out. And they were very polite with me. Sister, you're asking too many questions. It was like, sister, Sister Gina, and I was like, well, I'm being constrained in this Nation of Islam. I'm out. And I couldn't do the 6 times a day praying anyway. That early 6 a.m. prayer, I always miss that one. So
that's a dedication. That is a dedication.
Yeah. So I left the Nation, but I started doing comedy, and I started going to these groups that used to do stuff in the community, these Black groups that were all about empowerment and stuff in the community. And one day they were doing a fundraiser, and they were like, listen, we need singers, poets, dancers for this fundraiser to raise money. And me and 2 of my friends were always messing around doing our parents' Nigerian accent. And I wrote what I thought was a play for us to perform for this fundraiser. And we performed this play, and it wasn't a play. It was a comedy. People laughed their asses off. And I was like, comedy. And that's how I fell into comedy. And, we did this sketch, and we kept winning competitions with it. And then from there, I diverted it into stand-up comedy. And I was like, yeah, I'll do this stand-up comedy thing. It'll be a bit of fun, and we'll see how long it lasts. And then I'll go back to engineering when the comedy thing dries up. Well, that was 26 years ago. I never went back to engineering. OTIS was my last job as an engineer.
The first and last job.
Well, it wasn't my first. I'd had a couple of other jobs before that. I worked for the council, the government, and then I worked for British Telecom, which was the British version of AT&T. So I was wiring up telephone lines in the telephone exchange. So OTIS was actually my 3rd job. Yeah, I had 3 jobs between 18 and 21.
My God.
Mm-hmm.
So stand-up comedy becomes a thing.
Yeah.
How did you end up in the US? Because I know for Black Brits, Black British women in entertainment and in comedy, there's so few that we know that break through the wall.
Mm-hmm. It's been my dream to live in America since I was a child. I'd watch TV movies and kids running along the beach, going to hang out with Brad and Chad after school. I watched, children being sleuths, detectives, solving crimes on their bikes. All your American TV shows, kids look like they're having a better life. So from childhood, I always wanted to live in America. That's why I worked for OTIS, because OTIS was an American company. Even as an engineer, I had my eye on America. I was like, I'm going to work for OTIS. It's an American company. I'll qualify in England, and then I will transfer to OTIS in America. So it's always been my dream since 4 years old to go to America. So when I started doing comedy, the dream just got bigger, because I was like, comedy, America's the home of comedy in the movies and TV. That's where I need to be. And in England, there is a glass ceiling. I used to do a routine where I'd say that the English TV and comedy scene is like, they have a nightclub policy when it comes to Black people. 1 in, 1 out. So when a Black person got on TV, all the rest of us had to just sit back and wait till they died or messed up before one of us get an opportunity. So that's how it was. So I never got my own TV show. I was always on other people's TV shows. I was the token. Whenever they needed a Black comic, a woman, they booked me. So I worked consistently on TV. I was on everything. I was a panel on every show. And then I started to realize they were using me as a token, because whenever they got accused of racism, they go, but we've got Gina. We can't be racist. We have Gina. But I was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I never got my own show. There were opportunities where, they dangled the carrot in front of me. If you do this, we'll give you the show. And it never happened. And I hit that glass ceiling. I became very successful. I was living a good life. I had my house. I had my nice car. I was, I hustled and was selling out theaters on my own, doing my tours. So I always did well. But white male comics who came up under me, who would open for me on the road, would then pass me within a year to become stadium-filling multimillionaires while I was still hustling. So I'd be like, how are these white guys just passing me when they opened for me and I gave them their first? So a lot of that was how I hit that glass ceiling. So I was like, you know what? I need to go to America, because yes, the racism in America is rampant, but at least it's in your face. You know where it is. And yes, there's a ceiling for Black entertainers in America, but it's a lot higher than the British glass ceiling. So at least when I hit that ceiling in America, I'll be a multimillionaire and I can cry in my money. So, So I planned to come to America, and I got to America via Last Comic Standing, which was a TV show. It's kind of like an American Idol, but for comedians. It's called Last Comic Stand, and they went around the world, and I auditioned for that. I was on tour in Australia, and I auditioned for the show and got through to the semi-finals in Los Angeles. And so for them to bring you to Los Angeles for the semi-finals, they had to get your work visa. And they got me a 2-year work visa.
Ooh, turn up.
So I said to the lawyer, so when you say 2 years, this means I can live and work in America for 2 years without being deported? And they were like, yes. I was like, done. I sold my house in England. I gave away and sold everything I owned. I came back for that semi-final with just 2 suitcases to my name. I threw a party at my house before I sold it, threw a big party saying, I'm out, I'm going to America, I am not coming back. This is the dream, I am off. People are like, you're crazy. You only got a 2-year work visa, you're gonna have to come back. And I was like, trust me, I'm gonna make this into something. I am not coming back. Goodbye, England. People laughed at me. People talked about me behind my back, talked shit, laughed at me. Yeah, she's going to make it. All these white comics, the racist white comics were saying, oh, who's going to want to hear a Nigerian joke to America? Laughed at me. But I went and I came and I struggled for years. I came to LA, I struggled. But I was like, I ain't going back to England. I'll make this work. I sat in the back of comedy clubs that wouldn't book me. I'd sit there, and if somebody was running late, I'd go, oh, that comedian's running late? Look, let me go up and do 5 minutes until they get here. And that's how I got on. In fact, that's how I got Def Comedy Jam. I was sitting in the back of the club. They were I didn't know this at the time. They were showcasing for Def Comedy Jam. I was just sitting in the back of the club watching. Damon Wayans' son, Damon Wayans Jr., went on and crushed the stage. The other comedians who were showcasing did not want to go on after him. They didn't want to follow him. Are you serious? They didn't want to follow him because they didn't want to look bad in comparison to him. And I was just sitting in the back of the room, and I was like, I'll go on. I don't give a damn. Yeah, give me 5 minutes. Let me go up there. So I went up there and did my thing, not knowing that it was a showcase for Def Comedy Jam. I just went up there and did my thing. And the next day I get a call. This is Def Comedy Jam. We'd like you to do a set. So I've always hustled, Luvvie, hustled. When Netflix and HBO and Showtime were giving out specials to comedians and they wouldn't give me a special, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to make my own. I rented a theater. I handed out flyers. I did shows and I stood outside the shows handing out flyers. I booked my own camera crew and I made my own specials. And then I was like, I got a special. Do you want to buy it? I sold my first special to Showtime in 2010. I sold another one to NBC. And now I own these specials. I own the rights to them. So those 3 specials that you see on Netflix, 2 of them, I shot myself with my own money on a credit card.
I'm going to pause this right there because that piece right there, is so much. There's so many lessons there. I'm gonna start with the first one that you talked about. First of all, people who are listening to this, if you are not an immigrant, you don't understand how hard it is to actually get a visa into the United States. Like the United States, where we think, when we hear stories about people, risking everything to come here, the United States has some of the toughest immigration laws in the world. And it is the place that's supposed to be the dream spot. So when you got this 2-year I can work visa, I know your whole spirit was like, here it is. Like, y'all don't understand how hard that is to get. Because when people come to the U.S. to visit, U.S. be like, you can show up. Don't even look like you can even catch $1. So you got this 2-year visa and you was like, bet, this is my in.
This is it.
Let's talk about the fact that you sat behind just visiting random clubs. It was like, I'm just going to do my craft.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting nothing
me.
from it.
They wouldn't book me. I was like, I'm from England. I'm famous in England. I'm really good at what I do. Please book me. And they'd be like, we don't know who the hell you are. We ain't booking you for nothing.
And you said, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to wait for the opportunity to present itself. And because of other people's fear of going behind Damon Wayans Jr., you was like, I'm going to go. Forget this. Like, I'm going to go. And that ended up opening another door. I hope y'all are listening to this and picking up some of these gems because these are some real life lessons. Because we are usually waiting for permission to do what we're supposed to do. We're waiting for other people to open the door for us. And you said, I see the locked door. I'm just going to wait until you crack it open and I'm going to just drop kick it.
Exactly. Exactly, love it.
Imagine being in an online space where people's foolishness doesn't make you want to fight the air. That might sound impossible with your current choices for social media, but I was sick of wading through nonsense to find like-minded people. So I created my online community. And if you're the kind of person who is striving to be a professional troublemaker and fight fear, we need you to join us in that community because you need people to cheer you on. Love Nation is my online community and app that is a safe space in a dumpster fire world. It's the place for the most thoughtful, funny, most chill-deficient people on these interwebs. We're a community that comes together to make each other better with curated conversations, opportunities to connect, and challenges to help us transform and do better in every area of our lives. So, I want you to come in there, join us, become a citizen of Love Nation. So go to lovenation.com, LUVVNATION. Download the app in the App Store or on your Android. It's on iOS and Android. And come on through. All right, back to the podcast. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you shot your own comedy specials.
My own specials. You know, my second one I shot in San Francisco. Nobody knew me in America. And I was living in Los Angeles at the time. So every weekend for a year, I would drive or fly to from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I would do shows for free. So I just turn up at San Francisco clubs and just give me 5 minutes. I'll go on, I do a set for free. And then I would stand outside that club afterwards, just handing out flyers. I did this for a year. Handing out flyers, saying, I've got this special, I'm shooting this special. And I rented this little 300-seater theater in the Mission area of San Francisco, an old theater. I rented this theater a year in advance. And I was like, I've got a year to sell this 300 tickets. I think I could do it. Nobody knows me, but if I just keep grinding for the next year, I will sell out this theater. I booked a camera crew. I flew over my director from the UK. I got an Airbnb in San Francisco, and like 10 of us was in this Airbnb. The woman who owned the house was furious. But I couldn't afford hotels. I couldn't afford none of that. I was doing this off the little money that I had saved. So I booked this Airbnb, flew my guy over from England to direct and produce it. He was the guy. I was like, okay, you're the director, you're the producer. You know about all this camera crew. I've hired the crew. You source all the equipment. I'll pay for it. And let me just deal with the theater and getting my set together. So I'd hand out flyers after every show in San Francisco for a year, fly up every year, every week and do shows and then hand out flyers. And I sold out this little 330-seater. Now, when you shoot a stand-up comedy special, you usually do 2 sets. Yeah. 2 sets so that you can, if anything goes wrong, you can edit between the 2 sets or whatever. I didn't have money for 2 sets. I sold this theater out for 1 show, 330 people, and I couldn't afford to film 2 sets. So I had to get this set right in 1 take. There was no messing around. 1 take. And I did it. And that's the special that's called Laughing to America, which is playing on Netflix right now.
So people can go watch that on Netflix right now. Just Google, type in Gina Yashere's name.
Yashere, Luvvie.
Yashere. See, people always call you Yashere.
Nah, mate, it's Yashere.
Yashere.
From Benin City, Yashere.
We can even put the Niger accent to it. Yashere,
Yashere. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so those specials, I own the rights. So I've sold that special a couple of times. This is my hustle. You know, I sold my special to NBC. I sold one to Showtime. They had it for 12 months. It reverts back to me. I own it. Then I sold it to SiriusXM. I leased it out to Sirius. So when you listen to me on Sirius, it's those specials. I made them into sound, made them into audio. And now those specials, I earn a check every month from Sirius from the royalties of my specials because I own that stuff. And then we gave it to Netflix. So I've sold those specials several times over the years because I own it. I made them myself. They are mine.
You did this one time and have been collecting checks on checks on checks off this work that you did 11 years ago?
Yeah, because nobody was giving me nothing, so I had to make it happen.
That is so smart and such a ownership. Mm-hmm. Do your own work when nobody wants to give you the work to do.
Yep.
And grind until you break through.
Yep. So
what do you think was the breaking through the wall?
I still believe I'm breaking through the wall. It's been a, slow, steady, the first 7 years in America, I was making no money. I was living in LA, had an apartment in LA, but I was making no money in LA. So I was constantly going on the road. I'd have to leave LA for 4 months at a time and go travel the globe, doing shows, making my money, then bring that money back to LA, live off it. And when that money ran out, I'll call my agent in England. All right, I'm coming back for a couple of months. I used to call it the bank raid, because I still had an audience in England who loved my work. I sell out theatres in England. So I'd call my agent and I'd go, all right, time for another bank raid. And I'd fly back to England and I'd put some theatre shows on and do a quick tour, boom, 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 make all the money and bring it back to America and then live off it because I was still hustling, trying to make my way in America. And that's how it was for 7 years in Los Angeles. And then I moved to New York because I was like, well, New York, they've got a much more happening comedy scene. There's money there. I'm going to New York. So I went to New York and I lived there for 6 years. And what brought me back to LA was my TV show, Bob Hearts Abishola. I get a call out of the blue from my agent saying Chuck Lorre, who is the genius behind The Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, Kaminsky Method, Young Sheldon, Mike and Molly. Chuck Lorre wants to meet you. So I get flown over to Los Angeles for a meeting with Chuck Lorre. And he says,
what year was this?
This was 2018.
Okay.
2018. So, I'm living in New York happily in New York. Me and my missus loving life. I'm doing my shows. I'm touring. I'm making a nice living. I've sold some specials. I've got money in the bank. I'm doing well. Get this call. Chuck Lorre wants to meet you. So I'm like, okay, cool. They're going to fly me over first class, to Los Angeles. No. It's a meeting. They're not going to fly you first class for a meeting. I said, listen, you guys told me to Google Chuck Lorre. I Googled him and I Googled Warner Brothers and I know they got more money than God. If they really want to meet me, they need to fly me first class.
Come on.
My agent is like, oh God. So he puts the phone down. He calls me back an hour later and goes, all right, they're going to fly you first class. And I'm like, all right. Exactly. Know your worth.
Let's go.
You've got to know your worth, people. So from then, I think they got an idea of what they were going to be dealing with. So I fly in. So I fly in for this meeting, and basically Chuck says, look, I want to make a show. I traveled all over Africa. I met beautiful people. I want to meet, and we're in the middle of Trump craziness. I want to make a show with Billy Gardell, my actor from Mike and Molly, but I don't want to just make another Mike and Molly. I want the female protagonist to be a Nigerian woman. We've been researching African comedy and Nigeria just keeps popping up because we're the loudest. So we're the loudest. So Nigeria just kept popping up. So I want to make this character Nigerian. And obviously we're white guys. He was in the room with Eddie Gordetsky, Al Higgins, who is his other exec producers. And he's like, well, 3 white guys. We can't write this thing. We need you. We want you to be, I don't know, a consultant. And in my head, I'm like, a consultant on all things African? This sounds bullshit. But that was in my head. In the room, I was like, interesting. And I was like, so how did you guys find me? Did you see me on Def Jam? Did you see me on The Tonight Show? Did you see me on The Daily Show? Have you seen my Netflix specials? This is what they said. We typed Nigerian female comic into Google. So in my head, I'm like, this is the epitome of white privilege. You just brought me over here first class on a whim from a Google search. This is what I'm thinking in my head. In the room, I'm like, oh, interesting. Thank God for Google. Okay, continue.
Wow.
And they found this clip of me doing a show in London where my mother was in the audience and I was talking about my mum. And my mum stood up. And that clip went viral.
I know that clip.
And my mum stood up. That was the clip they found. And they were like, oh, bring this woman out here. She could probably help us. Literally a Google search. I mean, I was hustling. I put those clips out online. So it may sound like dumb luck, but I've been out there hustling for years, and that was the set that brought them to my attention. And they needed my help. I remember them asking them, what do you want the character to be called? And I remember one of them, Eddie, saying, oh, we're thinking Lupita. And I was like, okay, stop there. Stop there. Lupita Nyong'o is Kenyan, wrong country, wrong side of Africa, wrong, just wrong.
Not Lupita. And why would you want to name him after
Because she's an African and that was their knowledge of Africa. You know, Americans think that Africa is a country and not a continent. So they were like, well, there's this famous actress called Lupita, so maybe we'll call the character of our show Lupita. And I was like, for one, she's Kenyan. Two, she was born in Mexico and her parents gave her that name for shits and giggles. I can guarantee you there is not another African on the planet called Lupita. I'm going to pick the Yoruba tribe because being brought up in England, I was surrounded by Yoruba people, even though my mum is from Benin City. So here is a list of Yoruba names and their meanings. Pick one of these. And they landed on Abishola. So, you know,
Wow.
at first I said no to this gig. I said to my agent, I'm not interested. This sounds exploitative. I was pitching shows for years with my Nigerian family and getting turned down left, right, and center. I pitched shows to Netflix. I pitched to HBO. I pitched to and turned it down. And then I was like, ugh. I wasn't sure about this. I thought they were going to steal my idea or make some bullshit show that Nigerians would be embarrassed by and then make me look like a fool. So I said no at first. But luckily, my brother, my best friend from England, called me up and screamed at me for hours saying, you really turning down an opportunity to put Nigerians on the map. You complain about the lack of opportunities for you. Here's an opportunity in your lap and you're about to walk away from it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And that is another lesson, Luvvie. Have people around you who have your best interests at heart, who will tell you you're being a fool when you're being a fool.
Yes. Surround yourself by those people because they will make sure you don't say no to yes opportunities like this.
Yeah. So I listened to them. I stayed and I started working with Chuck and the guys. And once I got in a room with them, I started to really like them. I kind of fell in love with them. And I was like, oh, these guys want to make a good show. And I told them straight, okay, if we're going to do this show, it's going to be authentic. The lead character, Abishola, is going to be a dark-skinned Nigerian.
Yes.
Okay, this is where we're going. Don't be sending me pictures of any Halle Berry-looking women because I'm going to strike them out immediately. No shade to light-skinned women out there, but you know that in Hollywood, that is the ideal of beauty for black women. And I was like, if we're going to do Nigerian, we're going to do Nigerian.
Naija proper.
Proper. Abishola is going to be dark-skinned and preferably a Nigerian actor. I don't mind having non-Nigerians play Nigerians because as long as we get the story right and get the authenticity, but Abishola has to be Nigerian. So I made a point of this. I made a point of saying, and I created the characters, I named the characters, and I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to make it authentic. And you have to listen to me. If I say this isn't right, you have to believe me and let me do my thing because I don't want to be involved in something. And they said yes, and they were listening. And after 2 days in the room, I got promoted from consultant. They were like, okay, you're not a consultant. You're actually writing the show with us. So I became co-creator and producer of the show. And I was involved every step of the way. When they were casting the actors, I'd sit in the room. So when these Nigerian actors walked in, they saw me. Yes. They saw me and they went, oh, this is legit. I'm not going to be asked to do any kind of buffoonery because there was a black exec producer sitting in the room. And I made sure I was there for all the castings. Abishola, I was in New York still. I hadn't moved over yet, but they were sending me. I said, you need to send me every audition and I will pick the people that work because you lot don't know what you're looking for. And when we saw Folake who auditioned, I said, that's the one. This is the one. And then Auntie Olu, Shola Adewusi, she's a British-Nigerian actor. I saw her on Chewing Gum, Michaela Cole's show. And when I was pitching my show in previous years about my family, I had Shola in mind to play my mother in my show. So when we were starting to do this show, I was like, I really want to keep her for my thing. But here's the thing. If this thing goes well, I'm going to be putting most of the elements of the show idea that I had into this show anyway. So let me give them Shola. So I said, here we go. For Auntie Olu, I know the perfect actress for this role. It's this woman called Shola Adewusi. She's in England, but trust me, get her out here. She'll be perfect. So I had my hand in the casting. I made sure I was there in the room when these actors came in, and I let them know which were the ones that we needed to cast. So I was there every step of the way. I got black writers in the room. because Chuck world is a very white world, and CBS is, you know. And I didn't want to go, you have to get black writers. What I did it this way. I invite them to comedy clubs where I was headlining. And then I put my friends on the show. And then when they say, oh, we really liked her, she was really funny, I go, really? Well, that's good, because she writes. Did you know she writes? Wow. And that's how I got my friend Gloria Bigelow into the writer's room on a CBS show with Chuck Lorre. I called you, Luvvie. You don't remember.
No, I remember. You text me.
I text you. I said, listen.
You text me.
I'm making this show. Do you want to be a writer?
No, Gina, you text me the day before I was about to leave for Ghana.
Oh.
And I was so swamped and so like overwhelmed by life and stuff. And at that point, girl, bless it. God bless it. But I was like,
You're doing your own thing, but I tried to get you in there. I gave them copies of your book. And I said, this woman is intelligent and funny and Nigerian. I think she'd make a good writer on this show. So I texted you. I was like, do you want to come write on this show? Because I'm trying to get black people in the writer's room. And then I never heard from you. I'm like, this.
It wasn't the right time, Gina. It wasn't the right time.
I know, but you know what? Everything for a reason. You're flying on your own back. You're doing your own thing. And
listen, invite me for the next show, because I know you're going to have another show.
Listen.
You're going to have another show. So when you're doing the other show, call me.
For this book, this is the next show.
Yes.
This is the next show. I want to serialize this book.
When that gets optioned, Gina, call me. Okay? I will
call you. I will call you. And you better respond to that text.
I got you.
I called Yvonne Orji. I was like, Luvvie ain't responding to my text. Have I got the right number for this woman?
Because I was in Nigeria, man. I was in Ghana. I didn't know what's funny. I don't even think I got the text until I got back.
Because I was like, why is she responding? This is an opportunity and I'm trying to bring her in. And she ain't responding to the text.
Oh my God. Don't worry. The next one. By that point, because I actually do have it in mind. I do want to write on a TV show one day. So
well, I'll tell you.
But like, that is incredible. Gina, you went from the person who couldn't get booked to doing your own specials to being randomly Googled by Chuck Lorre, flown to LA for a random meeting, and now being EP of a show. EP and co-creator of a show that is now on season 2.
Yeah, and we've been picked up for season 3, and I'm a series regular on it, because as a comedian,
right, my dream your wigs.
My dream has always been to be the best friend on someone else's sitcom. So when we started writing this show, I wrote this character. They didn't know that I was writing it for me, but I was like, I think Abishola needs a friend. Don't you think she needs a best friend? I think she needs a confidant. I'm thinking, Kemi, I created this character and they had no idea. They thought I wanted the role of Abishola. On the day that we started casting, Chuck comes in and goes, okay, CBS is interested in this pilot. We're going to start casting. But here's the thing, if you want to play Abishola, you're going to have to audition with the other actors. And I looked at Chuck and I was like, I don't want to play Abishola. And Kemi didn't even have a name at that point. She was just a line on the board, on the whiteboard, woman on the bus. And I just turned to the whiteboard and it was like, I want woman on the bus. And Chuck looked at me and he went, you're very fucking smart. So I wrote myself into that show as well. I was like, that is my part. You ain't looking at no other actors for that. I'll be the one. And they didn't know what they had. I knew what I was bringing because they only Googled me and found this one little set. They didn't know that I had a wealth of experience as an actor in England. Sketch, writer, actor, everything. I have credits upon credits. And they didn't know that. They just thought my little part was a little one-liner thing in the pilot. And I let them think that because I knew that once they saw what I was bringing to this character, that character was going to get bigger. And that's exactly what happened. When the pilot came out, I only had 2 lines in the pilot. The first episode only had 2 lines. But when the trailer came out for that pilot, my 2 lines were all over that pilot. So I was like, there you go. They see it already. They see it already. And I ended up becoming a series regular on the show. I'm getting all the checks, Luvvie. I'm getting Gina, all the checks I can possibly get.
Can I tell you that I am living for the way you finessed it in the smartest way and how you just cashing multiple checks on top of checks on top of... That brings me so much joy.
Listen, it took me a long time to make it. It was a long, hard struggle. But I'm glad I made it later in life because it makes me appreciate it more. I know I'm not going to squander it. and I'm just watching and learning as much as I can. Because I never saw myself as a writer on the show. I used to turn down writing gigs. I was like, I'm a stand-up comic. That's what I do. I don't want to do nothing else. I don't want to be in an office. I don't want to do none of this. I never saw myself. People offered me jobs writing on shows, and I said no. I didn't want to be involved in the politics. I heard a lot about the racism and misogyny that goes on in writers' rooms. But the universe was like, this is what's happening. And yeah, the pilot got picked up. I was still living in New York at the time. The pilot was getting, we shot the pilot in April. And I said to Chuck, so if it gets picked up, when do we start work? And he was like, June 2nd. So I was like, well, I said, so after we shoot the pilot, they let us know on May the 15th and I start work on June 2nd. So I'm going to have like 2.5 weeks to pack up my life in New York.
Yeah.
So while we're doing the pilot, I was like, you know what? I'm going to manifest this. I bought a house in Los Angeles. I was like, you know what? If this show gets picked up, I'm going to buy this house and start furnishing it. The missus is going to be in New York. We'll have to do long distance for a while. I'm going to buy this house. And people are like, why are you buying a house? The pilot hasn't even been picked up. You ain't even shot it yet. And I was like, well, if it gets picked up, then I'll have a house to move into to start work immediately. If it doesn't get picked up, I will have a very expensive investment property. Either way, it's going to work. Right. I'm manifesting that. I'm manifesting it. And it got picked up. And I literally moved out at the end of May, furnished that entire house in 6 days, and started work in a week. Yep. Ordered all my furniture online, everything just online. Just started. We got to the house, and the first day I just sat in the house, and furniture was coming all day. Furnished the house in 6 days.
What?
And then boom. Bought the house, and then started work. Because I was like, you know what? I'm going to manifest this. I've always followed my instinct. Let me just follow the instinct. If it works, it doesn't. But I tell you what, on my deathbed, there will be no regrets. I'm going to be like, I tried everything. I may have failed at some things, but at least I gave it a shot.
Wow. Gina, like, girl, first of all, people never understand the journey. And that's why I always want people to tell the story before all the glow up happens, right? Like, people gonna now see you and not understand all the different things that had to go right for you to be here in this moment. And that is magical. And today that we're recording is your launch day for your first book.
Yes.
Cack-handed.
Yes.
Y'all, you have to go get this book. Go pick up this book.
What
made you realize it was time to publish and write this book? You
know what? I didn't. What happened was, I was doing, the flashback Thursdays and the throwback Thursdays and flashback Fridays. I post an old picture and I tell the elaborate story behind the picture. And people kept commenting on my Instagram saying, oh my gosh, this story is so interesting. I didn't know this about you. You should write a book. You should write a book. And this was happening for a good year. People just kept, you should write a book. So I started saving those throwback Thursday and flashback Friday posts in a folder. I was like, maybe one day I'll turn this into a book. And I was saving them. But I didn't know how to go about that. So I never really thought about it. And I never saw myself as a writer. I was a stand-up comic. I'm a comic. I write my material, but my attention span is short. So I was like, I don't think I can write a book, but I'll hold these and maybe we'll see. The universe was like, okay, let's make this happen. I get a call out of the blue from Michelle Buteau, another comedian who's the host of The Circle. We're good friends. She's wonderful. She's like, listen, bitch. I'm writing a book and my lit agent loves you and is a big fan and he wants to meet you to talk about writing a book. So I'm putting you guys in touch. So she put me in touch with her lit agent. I met him and he was like, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. I see all your posts. I love what you do. I love your comedy. I think you should write a book. And that's where it came from. And so I was like, okay, I put together the throwbacks and I wrote like a sort of a synopsis of what the book was going to be about. And then we sent it around to publishers. And HarperCollins, Amistad, a subsidiary of HarperCollins, and Tracy Sherrod, a beautiful black woman editor, picked up my book and was like, yes, don't bother sharing it to anybody else, yes. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, yes. And she'd contacted my agent around the same time saying, has Gina ever considered writing a book? So all of this stuff was coming together.
Come on, universe.
The universe. So yeah, I got this book deal. I didn't know what I was going to do. Because I was like, okay, I got this book deal. I've never written a book in my life. I was like, let me get a ghostwriter. So I was like, let me get a ghostwriter to help me write this book. And I hired a ghostwriter and it did not work out like thought. She was wonderful, very smart woman. But when somebody says the word diaspora 76 times in a sentence, you go, that is not really my vibe.
No.
So I had to fire her and start again. And around that time, the pandemic happened. So I was like, well, I'm a hardcore procrastinator. I got this book deal before the TV show. This was back in 2018, beginning of 2018, I got this book deal. And I hadn't done a thing because I was like, I'm going to let someone else write it. I'll tell them and they can write it. But then the pandemic happened and I was like, I got to write this book. I got to write this book myself. So I sat down and wrote this book myself. This ain't no ghostwriter. I wrote every single word in this book. I didn't know I could do it. Now I know I can. And I'm very glad that this happened. I'm very glad that it didn't work out because I sat and wrote it. And I don't know how you write, Luvvie, but I'm a sporadic writer. I'll write and at 6 o'clock in the evening, I'll go, I've got to write. And I'll sit there and write through to 4 in the morning. And then I won't pick it up for another 3 weeks. And then I'll go, oh God, there's a deadline coming. And then I write. And that is how I wrote this book. And then I'd go back and re-edit and read it again. And then I sent it to my brother and sent it to family members and friends and go, just read this. What do you think people will be interested in this? I don't know whether it's good or not. When I write my stand-up, I know what I'm doing. When I was writing this, because it's funny. It's a funny book, but there's also some serious stuff in there. Suicide attempt when I was 16, a horribly abusive stepfather. There's a lot of stuff in there that you will not know that has not yet made it into my stand-up. But I think it's a really good book. Personally, when I did the audio, because, I wrote it and you can't see when you're in the book. But when I went to record the audio for it, I was like, nah, this is a good book. Yeah. This is a good book.
Yeah.
So I hope people enjoy it.
My folks like to read, so I want them to go pick it up because your story is so deep and you've been through so much and now you are here living this joy life. Yeah. I'll be here for your tunes, okay?
I bet you don't know none of them, you baby. How old are you, 12?
First of all, I'm a geriatric millennial, okay?
What?
I'm a geriatric millennial, all right? Oh my gosh. So as you are doing all of this and just living out loud, how are you taking care of yourself?
Food, me and my missus love food. We love to eat.
Yes.
We love to eat. And I do hot yoga. I try work out because I suffer from lupus. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
I suffer from lupus. I got diagnosed back in 2005 and I was very, very sick for a long time. Like full body arthritis, couldn't move, had raised toilet seats, couldn't walk very well. I was getting to the point where I was going to have to walk with a cane. It was that bad. And doctors were experimenting on me, giving me all these kind of drugs, steroids. And at one point they suggested chemotherapy. They were like, let's just blah. So I'm like, you guys are experimenting on me like a guinea pig.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. And then I started researching how to heal myself naturally. I flew myself to Thailand and did a detox where you fast for 7 days and do colonic irrigations and clean out your system. And then that's where I got introduced to raw food and veganism. So I thought, let me try it. We're Nigerian and we eat meat with everything. I'll put cow foot on my cornflakes. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, well, let me just try this thing because I don't want to do this whole medication. I hit 270 pounds with the steroids. I'd blown up. I'll send you a picture. Every year or so, I post a picture of me when I was huge from the steroids and just the illness. And yeah, so I went to this detox and I started changing my diet and I went raw vegan for like a year. Raw. Nothing cooked, everything warmed or raw. And I tell you, when I say my lupus symptoms disappeared within months, my arthritis disappeared. The horrible migraines I used to get disappeared.
Whoa.
I suddenly realized after a few months that because I had a raised toilet seat because my knees were so bad I couldn't. I had rails at the side of my toilet and I'd have to lower myself down. After a few months, I was able to throw out that toilet seat and go, oh my God, my knees, the swelling's gone down. The pain, I'd been in pain for so long that it took me a while to realize that the pain was diminishing. And I came off all that medication. The doctors thought I was crazy. They're like, you can't come off this medication. Your body will go into shock. You'll die. I was like, yeah, whatever. I know my body. I came off all of that medication. That was in 2009. I've not been on medication for lupus since 2009. I sent my lupus into remission. Now, I'm not still raw vegan. I'll eat vegan as often as I can because, you can't, look.
Wow.
I'm punishing myself. I'll eat, we do Fun Food Fridays, which then turned into Fun Food Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. But I'll eat as vegan as I can and eat as healthy as I can. And then the weekends I go, let me just have some fun and eat whatever I want. But I do hot yoga. That really helps with the joint pain and the arthritis. So the hot yoga help me. I exercise. I play badminton. That's my sport. Don't laugh at me. It ain't that garden variety badminton that you guys think it is. It's proper. Go watch the Koreans and the Malaysians play badminton. That's what I play. So that's what I do to try and keep myself healthy. I eat good food. I do my yoga. I keep, because I know my body will tell me. Because I get if I eat horribly for too long, the joint pain. I wake up in the morning and the arthritis starts to come back. My joints start to hurt and I go, oh, let me get off this. Let me get back on my healthy eating tip. So my body will tell me when I'm messing up. So that's what I do to look after myself. I love to read. I love to watch good TV. I love to eat, and that's it. And I travel. Before the pandemic, travel was my jam. I've done shows all over the world. I've done shows in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Brunei, all over. I will go anywhere to do comedy and just to immerse myself in different cultures. I can't travel as much now because the TV show is taking over my life. I can't go nowhere. But I spent 26 years traveling the globe, and I consider myself so blessed,
Yeah.
Despite all the trials and tribulations, despite the illness, despite the horrible pain I suffered for many years, I still consider myself blessed.
Wow. Okay, first of all, I'm on your Instagram right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you follow, you don't even follow me, Luvvie. Do you follow me?
Gina, of course I follow you. You stop it. I be in your DMs. You stop it. First of all, I'm cracking up at the post you put up when everybody was posting about like who looks like them, and you put up Arsenio Hall. Fam.
People keep telling me I look like Arsenio Hall. So I'm like, I'm not going to take that as a diss. I'm going to embrace it, whatever.
Oh my God. It is hysterical. But no, like, yeah, no, man, I'm telling you, like, that's why I was like, I want to have Gina on the podcast, like, because people got to know your story, like the full, where you came from, how you became this person, and just how you continue to put people on. Like you said, like you walked people into the room and now people have TV credits because of you. And that's really powerful. That is really, really powerful.
I said to Chuck, listen, you guys discovered me. But there's a lot of me's out there. There's a lot of me's out there, and I can help you make more money and at the same time bring in this talent that has never had a look in this industry before. Like Akin Femi, one of the actors on the show who plays Goodwin, one of the guys in the warehouse. I remember him coming up to me one day and he goes, every day, I thank God for the day your mother gave birth to you.
That's so Nigerian dramatic, yes.
I thank God for the day. Because these talented Nigerian people, You know, the fact that we on CBS, which is a very white old station.
Super white and old.
Let's be honest, it is an old white station. On CBS, we have authentic Nigerian characters speaking Yoruba. Speaking Yoruba on CBS. And the show is good. I'm not just saying it because it's my show. The show is fantastic. You know, people were a little bit suspicious of it when it came out. They're like, oh, white guy, Nigerian woman, it's going to be another white savior thing. And in the room when we were writing the show, I said to Chuck and the guys, I said, listen, this ain't going to be no white savior show. She's going to have her own job, her own money. She's going to be self-sufficient. This white guy is going to have to work hard and earn her love. This ain't going to be no white guy coming in, sweeping off her feet, and she has nothing. It's not going to be that. She's, you know, I wanted her to be a strong character in her own right. So people who have not watched the show yet, because there's a lot of you out there, Nigerians, black people, everybody, because this is the immigrant story, not just the Nigerian story, support the show. It's a really good show. It's well written. The characters are three-dimensional and it's funny. And I am involved every step of the way. So I'm keeping it 100 authentic behind the scenes.
You keeping the gate on, like, listen, we're watching. And that's needed. So my last question for you is, what do you think a professional troublemaker is?
A professional troublemaker is somebody who does not let the gatekeepers, does not wait for the gatekeepers to tell him or her when they can shine. They make their own way. They don't wait for anybody. They make their own path. They keep kicking doors open. They say what needs to be said. They live in their truth. Honesty, 100% honesty with yourself and with other people. You know, that to me, that's a professional troublemaker. I didn't even know the term existed till you brought it to my life. And I was like, yeah, that's what I am. That's what I've always been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Do not wait to be validated by others. Do not wait to be validated by others. Make your own way. That's a troublemaker, a professional.
Yes. And that's how I choose the people for this podcast, who I'm interviewing. It's not just about people who I know. It's about people who I think are disruptors and trailblazers, who are kicking doors down and who are constantly finding ways to blaze trails. And they do it even when the shit is not sexy. You know, they do it even when they get in trouble for it. Because I know you've gotten into a whole bunch of trouble in the process, right? Yes. You know, you've had to fight in rooms where you're the only, and you still are like, let me stand up for myself. And I think that's really important for people to see that. I don't think professional troublemakers are necessarily people who were born extraordinary. They just made a habit out of taking up space without apology.
Yep, just by virtue of who I am. I mean, I'm trying to change hearts and minds. You know, I'm a British-Nigerian lesbian immigrant at that. And you know I'm illegal in Nigeria.
You're illegal in a whole bunch of countries.
Yeah, but the country of my parents' birth, you know, I am illegal there. And it upsets me because I'm like, this religion, I believe in God. I believe in the power of love. I believe in all of that. But I think it's been corrupted by people for their own agendas. And unfortunately, when them white people came to Africa, they corrupted the religion and forced it on my people. And that is what they're carrying on to this day. We were not homophobic. We didn't care about people's gender or sexuality. We were spiritual people. It was about the spirit. It was about the person. That's what it was before, that these people came over and corrupted us. And I want us to get back to that. I don't know if it will happen in my lifetime, but I want us to get back to that. You know?
I just want to thank you for taking up your space, for being this visible Black Nigerian lesbian woman who is living in joy. Like, I enjoy watching your tunes videos. Like, I enjoy seeing you just be like having a good time and living in such joy. And I think somebody else is watching you and you're giving them permission to be exactly who they are. Yes. And I'm just deeply inspired by it. I am such a fan.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm trash about text messages. You know what? WhatsApp me, Gina. You being WhatsApp.
I'm all over the WhatsApps, mate.
Gee,
I'm all
that's
over
why I be
it.
missing your text messages. I be in WhatsApp more than text.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We need to be WhatsApping, not texting.
Okay, I'm going to be WhatsApping, and the next time you and Yvonne and Cynthia are hanging out, if I don't get that call, I swear to God.
Beat me. Just beat me.
I will beat you all on the street. I will turn up and beat you like your grandmother. I will be a grandmother.
Just come and beat me. I'll be like, you're right. In fact, it was us. We did it.
I'm so happy for it. I'm proud of you, proud of Yvonne, proud of Cynthia, just out here. When I see you guys, the joy that it brings me to see you guys just excelling in your fields. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful, you know?
I'm so proud. And everybody, please go buy Cack-Handed, and let's support Gina in all she's doing. Check out Bob Hearts Abishola. It's Abishola.
Yes.
Which means, let people know what Abishola means.
I've forgotten.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
I've forgotten.
Abishola.
There was a few meanings for it that were
Abi actually usually means to give birth.
Yeah,
Abi means to give birth. Shola means wealth, to give birth to wealth.
That's right, because some people said it was bringing wealth to the family, giving birth to wealth.
Yes, so bringing wealth to the family is the metaphoric meaning. So Abi Shola means we gave birth to wealth, which means you're bringing wealth to the family. So my girl was loving that. I was like, yes. So,
yeah, I see. I picked your tribe. You're about man. My family's from Benin City.
Yeah, you people are Benin.
I was like, but our tribe is tiny. And in England, my mother speaks fluent Yoruba. She speaks Hausa. She speaks a little Igbo.
Oh, she speaks Hausa too?
Oh, yeah. My mom was very well educated. Her dad took her all around. She traveled as a child, learning. So I used to hear my mom speaking Yoruba all the time as a kid with all her friends. So that was the tribe that came to mind when I wanted to make the show.
If I ever meet your mom, I'll speak Yoruba to her.
Oh, she'll love that.
Yeah.
I'll have to do the story one day when my Nina, my girlfriend, met my mum. Now, Nina's white Jewish woman. When she met my mum, she went down on one knee. She did the whole bow. She did the bow. And my mum looked at her like, okay, this white woman, I like her. She's a better Nigerian than you, Gina. Look at this white woman kneeling before me. Kneeling. So she played it right.
We must prostrate. Don't worry. When I meet your mom, I will do the proper kneel. I'll ask her if she's eaten. That's how you know that that's their love language. That's their love language.
That is the love language. My mom, every time I call my mom, have you eaten? What are you eating? Have you eaten? And I'm like, Mom, I'm a grown woman. I'm coming up to 50 years old, Mom. Like, come on.
Love language. It's a forever love language.
Yes.
This is so good. This is so good. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. Wow. A British-Nigerian lesbian who is visible, and I adore that she is. I'm such a fan, and I'm living for the way she finessed a 2-year I Can Work visa and used it as a launching pad for her American comedy career, and is now cashing checks on top of checks on top of checks. Gina's story is proof positive that doing your work when no one wants to give you opportunities and grinding until you reach your breakthrough still works. You can't cheat the process. She embodies what it means to be a professional troublemaker, what it means to be courageous. I mean, it oozes out of her pores. The way Gina navigates the spaces she occupies could be the rubric on how to reach back and bring your community with you when you get to glow up. She's literally spoken my name in rooms that I've never been in, recommending me and hyping me up. And that's how you put people on. That's how you continue to be blessed. So thank you for being you, Gina. You embody what it means to be a professional troublemaker who's living an audacious life, no matter what margins that you are on. Y'all be sure to check out Gina's book, Cack-Handed, a memoir. It's available everywhere you buy books. And you can follow Gina on Instagram and Twitter at GinaYashere. And check out Bob Hearts Abishola on CBS. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Professional Troublemaker podcast. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Professional Troublemaker in your podcast platform of choice and share it with people. Let them know this is dope. Also, order my namesake book, Professional Troublemaker, the Fear Fighter Manual, anywhere that you buy books. I especially love when you buy it from independent bookstores. So go to professionaltroublemakerbook.com for more, because this book is game-changing, and I'd say that even if I wasn't the one who wrote it. And please make sure you rate this show and leave a comment with a 5-star review, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you choose to listen. Feel free to also share some insights and whatever connected with you on social media, and be sure to tag us. We are at Professional Troublemaker on Instagram. And me, I'm at Luvvie everywhere. Until next time, have the courage to speak your truth and show up as yourself. Create good trouble.